Hello, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. My name is Ariella Coombs, and I'm a career coach here at Work Daily, filling in for JT today. She is out of the office, so I'm excited to hang out with you guys and answer your questions. Today, I want to talk a little bit about my favorite subject, which is cover letters. I absolutely love cover letters. I totally geek out on them. And I know a lot of people struggle writing them. So it's actually one of my favorite things to talk about and chat with you guys about. In fact, we have a lot of people in our program right now who have totally transformed their cover letters. They went from really scary and generic to amazing and powerful. And I really love seeing that progression. So I'm excited to chat a little bit about that today. And of course, answer your questions after. They can be related to the cover letter topic or something else that you want to chat about today. But I'd like to kick things off with a little bit of a topic to kind of get things started here. So welcome, everybody. So happy to have you guys here. If you do have questions, please make sure that you're putting in the chat, just make your question in all caps and then ask your question, because that just helps us find those questions easier, because sometimes we get a lot of people in here and it's hard to weave through quickly and figure out what those questions are. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And then let's see, what else do I have? If you haven't subscribed, please do that and like and follow us on social media, just because, we've got a ton of great videos to share, and we've got a lot of great advice for you guys to see without even being in our program. So we love sharing that with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to hop in and get started. This is usually about a 30-minute session. So get your questions ready. Okay, so I just want to kind of go over, a lot of people have been having issues with their disruptive cover letter. So in our program, we teach a different type of cover letter, which is, it's not your typical traditional cover letter where you say, to whom it may concern, I'm writing to express my interest in the X, Y, and Z position at the ABC company, Snorefest. It's not exactly the most effective way to capture attention and stand out anymore. It's kind of an outdated technique, and everybody has used it. It's not exciting to recruiters and hiring managers anymore. And it's not really the best use of your time or the best use of that tool. So a lot of people have brought up that cover letters are dead and they're not effective. And if you're writing them in that traditional way, they're not effective and it's not helping you get ahead. So you might as well just not have one, but it is an effective tool if you use it correctly. So what we teach is to use your cover letter and share a story. So what I like to say is that your resume is essentially your fact sheet. And we say that it's kind of like your highlight reel for your career. It just showcases all of your hard skill sets, all of your great experience. So that gets your foot in the door. That says you're qualified to do the job. Then your cover letter is essentially showcasing why you'd be a good fit, why you'd be a good addition to the team, why you want to be a part of this company. And essentially it's kind of the voice to your resume, right? So it's saying what your resume can't say, which is, I want to be a part of this company because I'm proud to be a part of this. I would be proud to be a part of this company because, or the reason I got into doing this type of work is because of this. Your resume can't say that. Your resume is, again, it's just a fact sheet. It doesn't have any context. It just has, the skill sets, the accomplishments, and, the other requirements and the other things that you want to showcase in terms of your experience. You don't have any context to go with that. So that's where your cover letter comes in. And if you're just using your cover letter as a way to reiterate what's on your resume, it's not going to be effective because, why have two documents in different formats? It's not a great way to use those tools. So in your cover letter, you want to convey a story. You want to showcase that, you are connected with a company in some way, shape, or form, and you're passionate about what you do and you want to continue doing it at that particular organization. And that's just going to help you create a connection right off the bat, stand out, and really write something powerful that's going to get your foot in the door. So that's why we teach what we teach, because it's not worth spending all the time and energy writing a cover letter that isn't going to grab attention. So we've also had a lot of questions about, with our disruptive cover letter technique, Do I have to go super crazy and over the top in order to get their attention? It just feels really goofy to me, especially in my industry. If it's more serious or I'm applying for a more serious role, it's more like it's higher level. I don't want to be too goofy. I don't want to be using all this flowery language. What do I do? How do I stand out in that case? But here's the thing, you don't have to, and you really shouldn't be over the top in your cover letter. In fact, it just shows that you're trying too hard if that's the case. The key is to, again, create that connection. So you can write a very professional cover letter and share a great story without, using all this crazy, attention grabbing language and stories and everything like that. You don't have to go over the top. You don't have to share information you don't feel comfortable sharing it, especially if you're going for a higher level role or it's a more serious industry or you're judging the company and they're more traditional, and that's the case. I get that is, a little bit intimidating because you want to stick with that traditional format because that's what people are used to. But again, it's not an effective way to do it. But you don't have to be over the top if you're using our technique. So today I wanted to share a couple of angles to take in your cover letter if you're really struggling to create this connection with a particular company without going over the top. Okay, so I just wanted to and I wish I could show you my screen, but I was just going to read off a few different angles that I typically advise people to take if they're trying to brainstorm what to write in their cover letters to really make that connection with the company. Because again, that's what's you're speaking directly to the company. That's what's going to help you stand out. It's going to help you, show that you are already doing your due diligence and you understand the company and what they're about and why you feel like you should be a part of it. So that's why it's so important to do that. So I just wanted to share a couple of angles that you can take in your cover letter to create this connection story, as I call it, because it's just it's gonna help you create that powerful letter, that powerful narrative that's gonna allow you to stand out over those other candidates. Okay, so here's my first one. This is the basic kind of template that you should kind of work off of, especially if you're looking at companies that you haven't necessarily heard about them before and you just found out about them and you're doing a little bit of research, but then you realize, hey, I share this belief or this value with this company. There's something that resonates with you about that company. So this is the shared beliefs and values angle. And essentially, you want to ask yourself about this company. Do I share the same values or beliefs or something that, is important to this company? Is that important to me as well? So I just want to kind of read off. This is actually part of, I tweaked it a little bit, but this is actually one of the cover letters I did for a friend of mine. And, I didn't do it. He wrote it, but I'm just so blown away. I just thought it was such a great way to kind of capture this angle. So here's the kind of angle, the paragraph that I pulled from this. So shared beliefs and values angle. So I believe farming feeds the local economy. The services that Hometown Credit Union provides to local farms are so important in a region where agriculture has a direct impact on the local economy. Because I'm from this area, I have a desire to help farms in my state achieve their goals. I know the area and some of the farmers very well, and I'm confident that my past experiences, relevant skill sets, and local connections have provided me with the necessary foundation to add value to Home Credit Union. So you see how this is kind of this isn't a farming job. It's a bank or credit union. And this particular position was, I think it was like a credit analysis or a credit analyst type of position, but he's not talking about that. He's talking about how they have a shared connection. They have a shared value in the community. And, that's what's going to help him stand out. And it did help him stand out, which is great. So he moved a lot further in the process. He's actually still in that process right now. So, which is exciting. But see how this helps you stand out and create a connection with that organization by pointing out something that you and that organization have in common. And that just shows that, to the reader that you understand the organization, you understand, why it's there, what it believes in, and it just helps to market yourself as a potential, future teammate. Okay. So that's a value that's an angle that you can take there. Another one, which is really popular, is the defining moment angle. Okay. So typically, like we ask, was there something that happened to you that made you respect, appreciate, or admire what that company does? So was there a moment in time when you realized there's, this type of work is important that this company's doing, or companies like this are doing? It doesn't have to be for the specific company, but it could be, it's a moment in time where you're like, wow, I understand why organizations like this exist because of, this particular situation that happened to me. So this is actually part of one of our sample cover letters in our program, and it's one of my favorites. So it's essentially, to give you some background, it's about, this financial planner who wants to get into this organization. So I'll just give you a brief overview of this. So the defining moment angle. Okay. I learned the value of financial planning when I was 17. My parents sat me down and told me they weren't going to be able to help me pay for college because they hadn't adequately prepared themselves for the financial hit of sending me to school. Since then, I've been on a mission to help others plan ahead for their futures and the futures of their children. As a result of my experience, one thing I truly admire about ABC Financial and its commitment to customer education. From handing out free pamphlets to hosting financial workshops, it is always focused on providing financial education to its customers. I feel that it's this dedication that sets ABC Financial apart, and I would be very proud to contribute on its team. See how you're connecting a moment in a situation that you experienced and taught you that these organizations exist because of situations that I went through. And that's I think this is one of the most powerful angles you can take when you're writing your cover letter, because it's really drawing something personal, and it's not only showing that you believe in what that company does, but it also kind of demonstrates, why that company exists, right? And you understand why it exists because you went through that situation. So it's really powerful in that sense. So that's one of my favorite angles to take. And I'll share one more with you, because this one I think comes up a lot and you might not realize it, but you might be customers of the companies that you're looking to apply for. Like, think about your favorite brands out there. Would you love to work for companies that you regularly are a customer of? I'm sure a lot of people do, and I know that for a fact, actually. So this is another angle you can take, the customer angle. Okay, so did you have an amazing experience with this particular company that really stuck with you throughout the years? This is a great way to kind of connect and, again, show that you understand what that company does because you were a customer and you want to be a part of that team because it really made a big impact on you. Okay, so here's an example. As a daily user for over a decade, I've watched Facebook bring people across the world closer. I've also witnessed how the team has pushed itself to continually disrupt how people connect and consume content. As a creative, I'm constantly in awe at how well Facebook has been able to reinvent itself and adapt in a changing world. I think it's an extremely valuable quality in a company because it comes to when it comes to consistently succeeding and getting comfortable is not an option. As a business of one, I share this mindset. So again, it ties in your experience with that organization with your values and why you want to be a part of the team and why it's important to you. So, those are three angles that I typically have people kind of run through their minds when they're brainstorming a cover letter, because again, it's just a great way to, showcase that story and that powerful connection when, you're at a loss. You're like, I don't know what to write in my cover letter. It's hard and it's challenging, and a lot of people struggle with it. But once you kind of get going and you figure out these narratives, it's actually really fun. So I would definitely take, a second look at your cover letter, see if you can create some kind of angle, figure out an angle that ties you to that company. So that way you can stand out a little bit more. And I also just want to touch on really quickly, because we get this a lot. Actually, I feel like this week I got this a ton. So if you're approached by a recruiter and you don't know anything about the company that they're recruiting for, but you know about the job, the description, everything about that, if you need to write a cover letter, which you should, you instead of focusing on your connection with the company, you'd focus on the passion that you have for your work, why you got into it, how you solved it in the past, and why you want to continue doing this for an organization and adding value. So you'd focus on your passion for your work. You wouldn't just reiterate your resume again, but you would focus on, why you do what you do, okay? And why you want to do that for an organization and create value. If you don't have a role in mind, if you're really excited about a company, but there's no opening yet, and you just don't have one in mind, but you just want to get your foot in the door, this is where you really focus. And it's really important to figure out that connection with a company, why you want to be a part of the team, why you want to be associated with it, why do you feel proud to work there? That's where you have to kind of really hit on those and one of those angles and continue that through your cover letter. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful to you guys. I know cover letter writing is challenging, but again, once you get into it and into the groove and get inspired, it's a lot easier and a lot more fun. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's see. Ooh, lots of questions. Alrighty, so let's see. Just going through some of the questions here. Okay, so question, how do you push your profile to the top of LinkedIn search? Great question. So the answer is to optimize your profile with the skill sets that you want to be known for. So think about your top 10 hard skill sets that are relevant to your work in your field, and make sure you're putting it all over your profile. Put it in your headline, put it in your summary, incorporate it into your work history, use it in your skills endorsements section, your featured skills section, because the more you include those skill sets, the better optimized your profile is, and the more chance that it's going to show up in a search on LinkedIn, because recruiters are searching for typically those types of skill sets that relate to the jobs that they're recruiting for. So if you, for example, I use this one all the time, but if you're an email marketer, you want to incorporate skill sets that directly relate to email marketing and digital marketing, because as a recruiter, I'm going to be like, I'm searching for email marketers, email marketing, digital marketing, that kind of thing, because that's what's, it's going to draw those profiles that have those skill sets and, those candidates who, are well-versed in those skill sets and those particular projects and so on. So if you want to help your profile, make sure that you're incorporating the right skill sets and putting them all throughout your profile. So that way it's just optimizing your profile. So hopefully that helps. Okay. All right, so question. I work at a university, and they seem to have their own ATS system. So the automatic filtering software that they put your resume through to filter out resumes that just aren't a fit. So they have their own system here. So any suggestions? Seems like the Snorefest cover letter still works. Copy and paste job keywords and hit send. So if they have their own ATS system, and this is really important, a lot of companies will still put your resumes through a system to kind of, they need to put them in the system for their team. And it's just, a lot of companies still operate this way. But the key is to, again, optimize that resume. Make sure you're including the right keywords, the right skill sets based on your history and based on that job description, so they're really relevant. So what I tell people is to look at the job description and go through and circle all the hard skill sets that you can see on that job description, and even read between the lines. So think about the projects and tasks that you would have to do in that role, and figure out what skill sets you would need to do there. And then make your list, cross off any skill sets that you don't have, take that remaining list, bring it over to your resume and say, which ones did I not include on my resume? Which ones should I incorporate? And which one should have, more emphasis? So if they're saying, the same thing over and over and over again, like project management, you really want to incorporate that into your resume a lot. Okay. So that's going to help you optimize your resume for those keywords that relate directly to that role. It's going to help you, again, get through that system a little bit easier. But the most important thing you can do is go around that process. And obviously you're going to have to still go through that system. But if you have people, if you're networking with people and they've seen your resume, they've seen your cover letter, and they see your potential, if your resume doesn't get through that process, or if there's something going on in that system, that filtering system, they're going to be like, well, we had this great candidate, come through here, and I really was impressed, so we should give them a chance. If you can have people vouch for you, it's really going to help you kind of get around that system. But you're right. There are a lot of areas and companies that still put resumes through that system. So that's why it's so important to optimize and customize every single resume for the jobs that you're applying to. And of course, networking around that to, have that extra layer of people vouching for you. Okay. All right. All right, question. How do you tailor your cover letter for a job in an industry that you would be new to? So career change. So if you're trying to move into a new career. So that's a great question. So if you're moving into a new industry, if you're moving into making a career change, it's really important. Again, I think this is probably one of the most important things that you can do is to connect with that company, right? So using those angles or one of those angles to connect you with that company is going to help them see that you understand the company, you are passionate about that company, and you want to find your place there. So if you can connect with them and then show your value in your resume. So in your resume, if you're changing careers, you'd focus on those transferable skill sets, any relevant experience that you have. So that's really going to be your skill sets, your requirements for the job. But your cover letter is going to help you stand out in a way that's going to give you an edge. So if you can connect with that company using one of those angles, whether it's the customer angle, the defining moment angle, the shared values or beliefs angle, telling a story that captivates them and makes them say, wow, this is really impressive. And they're really passionate about not only our company, but what they do and why they want to change careers. This is going to be like, I'm interested. You've piqued their interest. And so if your resume is lined up and you have an impressive resume that's showcasing those transferable skill sets, you have a better chance of getting into that particular career path with this organization. So if you're changing careers, that is the most important thing to do, is figure out your connection with the company. Also, network your way into that company, because again, it's all about having people, back you up and say, I know this person. They might be moving from this area to this area, but they have these skill sets. They have this type of an edge over other candidates that, they can't bring to the table. I think they'd be a good fit. So your cover letter, the connecting with the company, having a great resume that showcases your transferable skill sets and your edge, like what is that unique experience or quality or unique value add that you bring to the table that other candidates in this field don't. And then, of course, networking and having people recommend you. That's going to really help you change careers and get into that new path. Okay. All right. So, question. I have two offers. One offer is a better title than the other. The other offer projects. The other offer projects which are current buzz in the industry. How do I pick one? So juggling between two job offers, that's always tough. You really have to kind of read through and clearly understand each offer, figure out where you want to be in 5 years, and figure out which one's going to give you the most potential, but also figure out what your priorities are. So in our program, there are 7 key areas of your life that you have to kind of go through, and it's part of our self-discovery process. And it makes you figure out what your priorities are in your life. So if one offer is going to give you that, like, for example, if your number one priority is your career and you've got 2 offers on the table, one doesn't really allow for much growth, but it has a nice fancy title. The other one has plenty of room for growth, and it doesn't necessarily have the title of the fancy name or anything like associated now, but it has the potential. You have to think about, okay, where am I going to be, or where do I want to be? So it's really, I hate to say it, but it's up to you and your priorities and what you value. So if it's about having that fancy title, great. If it's about the growth, then, you want to take that into consideration. Okay, so the other thing is, obviously, think about the salary, think about the benefits, which one's going to serve you better, in this case. So I hate to say it. I wish I could help you. I don't have too many details on this offer or these offers, but, think about which one's going to serve you better in the long run, I think, is the overall answer there. So that's exciting. Congratulations on your offers. That's great. it's a good problem to have, right? So awesome. All righty. Okay, question. When answering behavioral questions, I answered a question about making a mistake on a job, and I'm not sure if it was acceptable or not. How honest you uh, how honest you have to be about that question. So behavioral questions are great for our employers because they're trying to understand how you're going to act in certain situations and kind of gauge, get a feel for how you're going to handle certain situations and scenarios. So but they are tricky, especially when they're talking about your mistakes, your weaknesses, and that kind of thing. What we teach here is to use this following format. So it's the experience, learn, grow format. Okay, so when you're answering questions like this, what you want to do is give a brief overview of the situation, what happened, what was the experience, what was that challenge that you had to do, figure out what you learned from that challenge. So let's give an overview of the mistake that happened at work, because you want to answer them. You don't want to go into too much detail, but you do want to give them like, oh, I did make this one mistake, at this company. Don't go into too many details, but just say, this is what happened. This is what I learned from that experience. And this is how I grew. This is why it's never going to happen again, because I learned from that experience and I understand what I should have done differently. And I know how to handle it next time. So what you want to do in this situation is ease the employer's concerns about this particular mistake happening again. So if you use this format, it's actually turning it into a positive, because what it's doing is saying, I already experienced this situation. I learned from it based on that horrible mistake that I made. And it was, horrible at the time, but I learned from it. And then I grew and I know exactly what to do next time. If I was presented with this particular scenario, I know how to handle it, and that mistake won't happen again. And so that actually turns into a positive, because they see that you have experience dealing with this type of situation and you understand what not to do and you know what to do instead. Okay, so that's how I would handle that situation, that kind of question. Okay, I have time for one more question. There's so many questions. I wish I could answer them all. Okay. All right. Question: is it okay to include personal information in your cover letter, hobbies, etc., to highlight your level of youthful energy in case you happen to be an older applicant? So you can. I would just make sure that you're staying focused on that narrative. So what I like to tell people is, this is kind of my format when I work with people on their cover letters, is you have to address why you're connected with that company, why you would feel proud to work there, what problem you solve, and why you're passionate about it, how you've solved it in the past, and why you want to solve that problem at that particular organization. If you can incorporate, those other things into that without it being forced, then go right ahead. That's fine. In fact, it could be you could have a connection with that organization based on a hobby of yours, right? Just don't stray too far away from that kind of format, because that's really what's going to sell you the most effectively. It's the connection, what you do, why you're passionate about it, how you've done it in the past and you got results, and why you want to continue solving that problem at that organization. That's the format that we teach here at Work Daily. And again, I've seen some amazing cover letters come out, and so many people have been impressed with these cover letters. So it's, as long as you're focusing in on that company and, the value you can bring without reiterating your resume, that's key. So if you can incorporate those hobbies, go for it, but just don't force them in there, to kind of make a point, so that would be my advice in that. Awesome. Well, great. Well, I wish I could answer all of your questions. We have a ton of great questions here. Unfortunately, with office hours, we only have a little bit of time, and we can't answer everybody. But if you do want to make sure that your question gets answered every single time, you should definitely sign up for our premium subscription, because we are in there every single day. Well, 5 days a week. We aren't there on weekends, but we are in there chatting with you guys, making sure your questions are answered, reviewing your resume, LinkedIn profile, cover letters, all that great stuff. We work with you until everything is perfect. And of course, if you didn't get your question answered today, you can always make sure that you get it answered inside our program. So if you use coupon code OFFICEHOURS, all caps, you'll get a nice little discount on that monthly subscription, and you can cancel at any time. So you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe and keep up to date. We do this every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and it switches off between me and JT O'Donnell. So definitely tune in next week. And yeah, have a great rest of the week, everybody. And I will see you next time. Bye.